Indonesia, an underwater Garden of Eden that supports the highest diversity of marine life on the planet. But here, amid the world's richest reefs, another ecosystem goes unnoticed, its riches hidden in the sand. At first glance, it's a barren wasteland. But the mucky seabed is alive with weird and wonderful creatures.
To actually see them doing the things that keep them alive is something very special.
To my knowledge, this footage is the first time where we've actually gotten an exact glimpse of what happens.
Nothing here is quite as it seems. This is the mysterious world of life in the muck. The Indonesian archipelago sprawls across an area the size of the United States. It stretches from Malaysia in the west to Papua New Guinea in the east and lies about 1,000 miles south of the Philippines. Its 17,000 islands skirt the southern lip of the Ring of Fire, a chain of raging volcanoes born in a fiery collision of tectonic plates. Indonesia has more active volcanoes than any other country on Earth. Some erupt as often as every 30 minutes. Lighting up the sky with a violent display of fireworks above the sea. Indonesia's volcanoes both destroy and provide life. Flowing lava scorches and smothers everything in its path. But volcanic ash, rich in nutrients, regenerates soil on land and cultivates a marine habitat unlike any other.
It's nothing but sediment and maybe some trash and the occasional coral that sticks out. But once you actually look closer into the sand, into the sediment, into some of these hiding places, the critters that live in there, they're extremely beautiful.
The same volcanoes that scald the land sustain a thriving underwater ecosystem, though no one is quite sure why.
But I can tell you for sure that that black volcanic sand does have magnetism in it. I have a feeling that there's something about that which somehow attracts these muck critters. You can envision on a flat bottom, which is basically featureless, you can't navigate, so maybe it's that magnetic field which allows them to do that. That's one theory. No one knows for sure. There might also be some sort of a fertility aspect to I mean, we know that certainly volcanic soil is very fertile.
Whatever the reason, this mysterious seascape of volcanic ash is a hotbed of activity. It's also a battlefield. Down here, predators and prey run an evolutionary arms race, developing ever more unlikely methods of attack and defense. These spots of blue war paint belong to the fingered dragonet, a predatory fish that eats small crustaceans. As the name suggests, this fish uses finger-like fins to walk along the seabed and dig out prey. Camouflaged against the sandy bottom, the dragonet trolls the ocean floor for food. When it finds something, the fingered dragonet will thrust its extendable jaw forward to catch its prey. But so far, this one's going hungry. At night, the dragonet, like many bottom dwellers, buries its body in the sand for protection from other predators. A snowflake eel slithers along the dark ocean floor in search of prey. But however menacing it may seem, more dangerous hunters lie hidden in the muck. It's tough to escape the jaws of a predator when you don't see it coming. This is the brilliantly camouflaged ambush hunter, known as a stargazer. It buries its foot-long body in the sand, leaving only its face exposed. The stargazer is a stealth predator. It sits as motionless as a stone, then waits patiently for its next meal. Its specialized gills ensure that not one grain of sand is disturbed by its breathing. The stargazer swallows its prey whole. Its teeth interlock to keep sand from falling into its mouth. The stargazer is one of the strangest and most successful predators in this ecosystem. Nearby, what appears to be a piece of orange coral covered in algae actually has arms and a face and walks out of hiding. It's a frogfish, a master of disguise. Each frogfish has unique skin texture and color that enables it to blend in with its surroundings. This warty frogfish is on a fishing expedition. It has a clever technique to attract prey. Its front dorsal spine has a fleshy growth on the end that resembles something tasty. And the fish waves its lure around like a fishing rod, but no one is biting right now. This hairy frogfish has better luck. She's an expectant mother and has more at stake than just an empty stomach. She tucks behind the coral and waits. Her mouth balloons to 12 times its original size, creating a vacuum to suck in the prey. The entire process takes just 1/6000th of a second. Far too quick for the prey to react. It's the fastest bite in the animal kingdom. She's back on the move. But this time, a smaller male suitor follows closely behind. If she accepts his advances, he'll have to retreat as soon as they mate, or risk being eaten by her. On the boundary where the black muck meets the colorful reef, painted frogfish display vibrant colors to mimic the corals and sponges. Camouflage ensures these predators don't become prey. In the dark of night, nocturnal hunters come out of hiding. And the hunted hide. Crustaceans burrow in the sand. A jawfish seals the door to its home. And one of the ocean's most unusual creatures emerges. This is a walking shark. Rather than swim, this shark strolls across the bottom, using its pelvic and pectoral fins as legs.
They look for all the world like a lizard moving across the bottom. Their distribution and evolution is something which we find really interesting.
6 of the 9 walking shark species live in Indonesian waters, in small pockets around the island of New Guinea.
From each region to the next, you'll get a new endemic species that's only found in that area. And what it really comes down to is their form of reproduction, and then their behavior afterwards.
Walking sharks live out their lives on the very reef where they were born. They're poor long-distance swimmers and tire after just 300 feet. By comparison, migrating great white sharks have been known to travel an average of nearly 70 miles a day.
We just don't see them moving across deep water, and it's just coincidences of evolution and geology which allowed a new population to start in one given area, and then it evolved into a new species.
Dr. Mark Erdman has been researching walking sharks for years. He's eager to learn more about these bizarre animals and how so many different species evolved in such close proximity to each other in Indonesia's waters.
We're very interested in seeing exactly how this evolution has happened and the timing of it, how long it's taken to come up with these 9 different species. So one of the best ways to do that is through genetics.
The only way to obtain genetic samples is to go looking for sharks at night. Finding these well-camouflaged creatures is like a game of hide and seek. in the dark. This time, Mark's lucky. In the distance, he spots a leopard epaulet shark. This species of walking shark is fairly new to marine research. It was first scientifically described just 6 years ago. Its slow-moving walk means it's relatively easy to catch. Mark clips a small piece of skin from its fin, which will provide the DNA. He hopes to take a genetic sample from each of the 9 species to learn how they're all connected. On the reef, the walking shark has a rival predator. These beady eyes and shaggy beard belong to the wobbegong shark.
Wobbegons are another really interesting group of sharks. They typically are down on the bottom. They really blend into the background. They're basically like a carpet on the reef.
Like the walking shark, the wobbegong's pattern markings keep it camouflaged against the sand. Both sharks use stealth rather than strength to hunt. But each species evolved in a different way to adapt to life on the ocean floor. The walking shark trolls the bottom in search of small crustaceans and fish, hiding beneath the coral.
They're not a mid-water predator like most sharks, so by walking, they're able to basically poke their head as they go underneath things and get their food.
The wobbegong is a better swimmer, but ambushes its prey instead. Flaps of skin enclose its mouth and eyes. Filaments, called barbils, surround its nose. These whisker-like organs probe the seabed in search of prey, such as crabs and octopuses.
They'll basically set up shop waiting for something to come by, and then they will pounce upon it.
Like walking sharks, wobbegongs are nocturnal. They ambush prey at night and rest during the day. On rare occasions, they can be seen swimming about. This trip is unusually successful for Mark.
We ran into a large number of them out swimming, which is normally a very rare occurrence. I only see that maybe a couple times a year through extensive diving here, but we saw them on every dive. We had 6 or 7 out swimming. It seems that we happened to come across a period of time when there was mating happening. That's something which I've never seen before, and it seems that might have been why they were all out swimming around.
This determined male may be looking for a mate. Once he finds one, he'll stalk her until she concedes. This tiny suitor takes a more romantic approach. At dusk, mandarin fish couple up to take part in an intricate courtship dance. And this mandarin fish is looking for his dance partner. But he's got competition. He raises his dorsal fin high in the air, an advertisement to females, and a warning sign to his rival. But the second suitor refuses to back down. He also raises his fin to signal he's up for the challenge. The two males briefly size each other up. Then they fight. dominant male eventually pins down his competitor. Defeated, the loser must lower his dorsal fin and retreat. The winner of this duel claims his prize. The female rests on his pectoral fin, and the couple rises up together, cheek to cheek, as though slow dancing in the water. It's one of nature's most enchanting mating rituals. At the peak of their rise, the pair releases a cloud of eggs and sperm in perfect sync, leaving the eggs to be fertilized in the water column. The current will carry their spawn down to the reef, where the next generation of tiny dancers will hatch. In Indonesia's fertile waters, every day brings new life. A sea slug gives rise to the next generation. Millions of tiny orange eggs bound together in a ribbon of mucus. The eggs are toxic to predators. The bright colors a warning to stay away. The roles of mom and dad are interchangeable. These sea slugs are hermaphrodites and have both male and female reproductive organs. Their real name is nudibranchs, which means naked gills. The name refers to a plume of exposed gills on their backs. These creatures evolved from sea snails. Over time, they lost their protective shell in favor of a more advanced weapon of defense: toxicity. Some species are able to cultivate their own poison. Others dine on toxic foods such as sponges and store the borrowed artillery in their extremities. This golden nudibranch appears to sport a brightly colored umbrella over its gills. In fact, it is a sacrificial appendage that packs a strong chemical punch. If a predator nibbles on this distasteful extremity, it will be poisoned, sometimes even killed, keeping this slug's body and gills safe. Each of the 3,000 known species of nudibranchs advertises its weaponry in its own unique way. This nudibranch has brightly colored tentacles on its back in place of gills. Each of these tips is loaded with toxins. At least that's what these creatures want you to think. Not all nudibranchs are in fact poisonous. Some only pretend to be. They mimic the bright colors and patterns of the toxic slugs to fool predators. Most nudibranchs are the size of a pinky finger. This one is the size of a forearm. The Spanish dancer, one of the largest sea slugs on the planet, and one of the few nudibranchs that can swim. When it senses a threat, it takes to the water. It's easy to see how this slug earned its name. Its body twists and twirls through the water like the skirt of a flamenco dancer. But the Spanish dancer, like all nudibranchs, is blind to its beauty. Its primitive eyes can only detect light and dark. Two horn-like appendages on its head, called rhinophores, allow the slug to smell, taste, and feel its surroundings. Back on the coral outcrop, the nudibranch has finished laying its eggs. With the next generation of colorful sea slugs safely protected by powerful toxins, this parent is free to leave its spawn. Other creatures, like the peacock mantis shrimp, must make sacrifices to defend their young. This mother will starve herself for more than a month while she carries her eggs. She won't leave the safety of her burrow until they're hatched. But her protection won't be needed much longer. Once hatched, the young will leave their mother's burrow to fend for themselves. A pair of eyeballs pops out of a burrow. One moves independently of the other. The mantis shrimp has the most sophisticated eyes in the animal kingdom. A human eye creates just one image. Combined, our two eyes give us bifocal vision. The eye of a mantis shrimp has 3 focal points. Together, its eyes produce 6 different images. And whereas human eyes have 3 different color receptors, red, blue, and green, these eyes have at least 12. Which means this hunter can see in ultraviolet and also infrared. Peacock mantis shrimp belong to a family of shrimp known as smashers. They have a pair of raptorial appendages called clubs, capable of throwing the fastest and most powerful punch in nature. Smasher shrimp have a spring-loaded mechanism in their clubs, allowing them to strike their prey with the speed of a bullet. And a force 2,500 times their own weight. If a human had the same speed and strength, a single punch would break through a steel wall. With such devastating weaponry at its disposal, it's no wonder this smasher shrimp is comfortable flaunting its vibrant colors. Those who aren't born fighters can't afford to stand out. A young longhorn cowfish blends into the coral, while it waits for its fragile body to harden as it matures. This juvenile yellow-blotched razorfish floats in the current to mimic a dead leaf, but will dive into the sand at the first sign of danger. The nutrient-rich sandy bottom is a nursery for juveniles. For an adult predator, this playpen is a meal ticket. This ambush hunter hides in plain sight, camouflaged by a masterful palette of colors and patterns designed to look like seaweed. The Rhinopia scorpionfish. Intricate, beautiful, lethal. It pounces on its prey, faster than the blink of an eye. Armed with venomous spines, a rhinopia can stun its victim into submission and disable any animal that attempts to turn predator into prey. Lionfish, the flamboyant cousins of the scorpionfish, sail through the water. Reviled in the Caribbean as an invasive species, here they're in their native home. A dorsal fan of 18 venomous spines ripples in the water as a deterrent to would-be predators. A nearby lone coral outcrop energizes the bare seascape. Lionfish rest beneath a coral canopy, swarming with glassfish. For these fortunate fish, the coral outcrop is both a hunting ground and a home. Away from the coral reef is a marine desert, where finding shelter is key to survival. A resourceful sea urchin settles in a paint can. Clownfish crowd an anemone that sprouts from the muck. It's tough to find refuge on a seabed with few natural habitats. A piece of garbage becomes a prime piece of real estate. When there's nowhere left to hide, the best defense is to pretend to be something else. Strands of algae sway in the current. But this seaweed isn't attached to the seafloor. It's a decorator crab, playing dress-up. Decorator crabs collect debris on their bodies to blend into their surroundings.
Perhaps the most spectacular of all of those is something which is known as the orangutan crab, which looks for all the world exactly like a red, hairy orangutan on the bottom of the ocean.
The orangutan crab drapes itself in living algae, fastening the weedy fibers onto tiny hooks on its body. Once the outfit is complete, it's nearly impossible to spot this expertly camouflaged crab.
Now, the problem, of course, with this approach to camouflage is that crustaceans, when they grow, they have to molt their skin. And so if a decorator crab molts, it loses all of those bits and pieces which it's accumulated and stuck to itself. And so what we normally see with decorator crabs is that they then, as soon as they've molted, they'll go around finding new things to stick to themselves. In the case of the orangutan crab, no one's really ever known exactly what they do.
This never-before-seen behavior gives Mark a backstage peek at this critter's remarkable costume change.
In this particular case, the animal has molted, it then goes back to its dead molt skin, and it pulls off pieces of that red algae, which I don't think are particularly easy to find otherwise in the environment. So it pulls it off of its old molt skin, puts it onto its body, and that's going to presumably grow back into a full orangutan shaggy coat over the next week or two. And to my knowledge, this footage is the first time where we've actually gotten an exact glimpse of what happens.
One mystery has been solved, but many more lay hidden in the muck. It takes a trained eye to find these extraordinary, well-camouflaged small creatures.
critters generally range from the size of your palm, even that could be considered a macro critter, to the most common ones are about the size of your pinky. The smallest could be as small as half the size of a match head. You have to understand critter behavior, habitat, to actually know where to look.
A seahorse drifts over the seabed, then grips a plant with its specialized prehensile tail. These tiny creatures aren't strong swimmers and can easily be carried away by the current. Tiny hairs on its skin collect algae and debris to create an effective disguise. Some of them have evolved into the most well-camouflaged creatures in the animal kingdom. The pygmy seahorse. As small as a fingernail, they are so tiny and so well camouflaged, they were not even discovered until 1969. The pipefish is a relative of the seahorse. It gets its name from its long pipe-like snout. There are many varieties of pipefish. Each has a skin color to match its environment. They too are poor swimmers, making camouflage essential to their survival. Two ghost pipefish sway with the seagrass. So precisely camouflaged, they're more likely to be attacked by a herbivore looking to eat the grass. This ghost pipefish has more to worry about than just herself. Her enlarged pelvic fins conceal as many as 350 eggs. She'll carry them in her pouch like a kangaroo until they hatch. Soon, the protection of her young will be out of her control. The offspring will drift in the current until they find a suitable home on the reef. Like the decorator crabs, many pipefish collect algae on their bodies for camouflage. The ornate pipefish has a much flashier disguise. It adopts the colors of its habitat and even grows wing-like skin flaps to hide in plain sight. Nearby, a goby melds into the stem of a sea pen. It's not quite as intricate as the camouflage of the ornate pipefish, but it does the trick. Fish that are less easily camouflaged must find other ways to survive, or risk becoming a meal for a hungry predator. Like this cuttlefish. It's got a small goby fish in its sights and a long trick up its sleeve. The goby had no chance. Cuttlefish are masters of illusion. When it comes to changing skin color, they can outperform chameleons. millions of pigmented skin cells light up like a Christmas tree when a cuttlefish feels threatened. With no hard shell for protection, the cuttlefish uses brains over brawn to survive. This one has adopted a defensive posture. Rather than trying to blend in, it changes color to stand out and raises its tentacles to appear larger. It's trying to ward off an incoming threat. In this case, it's not a predator, but a rival cuttlefish that has this creature up in arms. The defensive display isn't all for show. The muscle tissue of the cuttlefish contains potent toxins. The challenger takes no chances and leaves this patch of coral to its opponent. With so many skilled hunters on the prowl, some creatures team up to improve their chances of survival. On this mucky seabed, strong partnerships thrive. A goby offers a pistol shrimp protection from predators in exchange for a well-maintained home. The little housekeeper is nearly blind, yet is able to dig a burrow for its protector. The goby stands guard outside the entrance. When a flick of its tail warns the shrimp of incoming danger, the tiny tunnel builder retreats into the burrow to avoid becoming a meal. Here, another housekeeper grooms its host in exchange for a free ride and much-needed protection. The host is a sea cucumber, and its guest is a tiny crustacean. It's a symbiotic relationship. The crustacean, a commensal shrimp, picks the cucumber's skin clean of algae and parasites. It's food for the shrimp and a healthy service for its host. Sea cucumbers come in all shapes and sizes. The largest can grow to 10 feet. These are the street sweepers of the ocean. A black-spotted sea cucumber creeps along the bottom on its tube-like feet and gathers minute particles of food with the retractable tentacles that surround its mouth. Some crustaceans seek refuge on anemones and sea urchins. On this one, a porcelain crab shares its home with the clownfish. Like clownfish, the porcelain crab has a special coating of mucus that protects it from the stinging tentacles of its host. A zebra crab hooks onto a sea urchin, which provides both protection and mobility. Sometimes roles are reversed, as with this sea urchin crab. The urchin gains speedy transit to new feeding grounds while protecting the crab with its long spines. The long tentacles of a tube anemone sway in the current, catching plankton that drifts by. Tube anemones make ideal homes for crustaceans like the squat shrimp. They are known among divers as sexy shrimp for their vivid color and the provocative way they wave their tails. In this barren landscape, every coral outcrop, every piece of debris teems with life. Secretive creatures about which we know very little.
We like to think of the world as already being quite explored. The reality is there's still so much that we don't know about it.
Indonesia's mucky seabed is a hidden kingdom ruled by weird and wonderful creatures. A place where predators have evolved to hunt in plain sight. And prey have mastered the art of deception. It's a story of survival where you'd least expect it. A mysterious tale of life in the muck.